records are now open. Okay, this is probably no surprise to you. I picked up Pleiades even before you even mentioned the Peru trip. So so you're definitely Pleiadian starseed. Let me see where Julie, wonder what Julie was from. I know she was from the Pleiades, but I couldn't remember which particular star system she was from in that cluster. I don't know, I might have to look at my notes later, but I know there's various different star systems in the Pleiades, and each star has its own kind of civilization, its own kind of regional specialties, or so that's why sometimes I like to compare notes, but
she was from the one that is the healing center.
Oh, the Merope. Okay, yeah, that
Merope.
would make sense. Okay, I'm thinking. Let me check your records and see where you're from. I was picking up either Merope or Maia. Okay, and I think it might be both. Okay, but probably Origins was Maia. Okay, for you. But then I think you also had incarnations in Merope, okay? So that's probably where you and Julie first connected, okay? Each of the star systems, the Pleiades was such a big asterism that you can't really kind of categorize it so narrowly, like, okay, they're all tall blonde Pleiadians, or they're all, these techno whizzes. I mean, I think it was such a diverse culture that, there was, it was one of the few star races where they really did a very good blend of the masculine and feminine energies. Okay, that was always a really big focus for Pleiades. Okay, and it's interesting about the Pleiades. Kind of in the Pleiades, they had a much freer society. The Pleiadians just wanted people to be happy. Okay, that was their main focus. It was like, it didn't matter. I mean, as long as you weren't hurting anybody else, I mean, pretty much almost everything, goes, in the Pleiades. And it, I always look into records and I see just a lot of joyfulness. I think the Pleiadians did a very good job of balancing technical work with spirituality, or creativity with healing, masculine, divine masculine qualities with divine feminine. The only thing they weren't good at was integrating dark with the light, and that's what got them in trouble. Okay, so yeah, they were kind of Pollyanna-ish at points in their evolution. They didn't want to face the dark, and it got them in a lot of trouble at times. With you in particular, Maia is it's kind of the, if I had to categorize it, it's kind of the realm of Pleiadian high spiritual knowledge. So most Maia Pleiadians tend to be people that are very steeped in mysticism and very much steeped in the mysteries of the universe. This is what their focus is, So I think they were also very good healers, but more on a physical level. Okay, so. Yep. So I think, they had that component as well. And it's kind of interesting about Maia. I think the reason why the Mayans were called Mayans were because I think they had this connection with that particular star system.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then, and I think a lot of the indigenous groups claimed ancestry to the Pleiades, and probably particularly to Maia and Merope and maybe Pleione. Okay, so. So not all the Pleiadians were tall, beautiful, blonde Nordics. You know, they were also, it was quite, quite a variety.
Variety. Yeah.
Now, your features actually do look more like, I would say, traditional Pleiadian. Okay, so I do think you have, you have kind of a sculpted look that I would consider to be more Pleiadian. Okay, so you probably had some soul genetics that probably held from Lyra. Okay, so the Pleiadians basically were pretty much all of them, most of them, if not all of them, were descendants of Lyran refugees.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you know much about Lyra, but it was considered to be the home of human consciousness in our galaxy. And if you're interested in Lyra, I always like to recommend Lissa Royale's book called The Prism of Lyra. It's a very small little book. It doesn't take much to read it, but she's got a whole bunch of information in it about Lyra and the importance of it, and how all these other races kind of stemmed from the destruction of Lyra. Okay, but the Pleiadians, I think, were the most prominent descendants of the Lyran refugees. I mean, they just kind of expanded out in the star cluster. So, so I think when I'm looking in your records, you have, I think, quite a bit of Lyran influence, but I don't see any Lyran incarnations. Okay, so you incarnated as I guess, etheric being. When you first started your physical evolution, you actually started off in the Pleiades. Okay, so there was no prior, Lyra. So you actually saved yourself millions of years of trauma, So, and when I looked at your energy is very clear. I don't see like a lot of trauma signatures in your energy field. Okay. And probably because you did a lot of shamanic work on yourself, and
correct.
Yeah, exactly. So, so yeah, I didn't see. So you're not somebody I would say, oh yeah, you're definitely a candidate for a clearing, because I think you probably do a lot of that anyway. So, I think you started off in Maia. I'm trying to see what it was exactly that you did. People tend to kind of stick to what they know. I mean, unless they're really like trying to do something totally different, which sometimes happens. But let me check in the records. I'm seeing you were like an administrator of a school that they had there. That's interesting. Okay, I don't know if that relates to anything that you do in this lifetime, but it was, so you were a teacher, but kind of like a higher level. So this was like very, very high level. It wasn't like elementary school. It was more like a university. So I think what I'm seeing is that Pleiadians from other star systems would go there to learn, very deep level, universal law or universal physics, or, very, very deep level stuff. And I'm just seeing that you were an administrator of the school, but then at the same time, you were also, I think, one of the teachers, okay? And I think initially you did teach, I think, philosophy and universal concepts, okay? So it's very, very high level. Eventually, I think you started getting more interested in the healing, okay? So you had this interest in the healing practices, and I think you pretty much throughout consequent lifetimes exhausted all the knowledge that you can get on Maia about healing. Okay.
Right.
So I think at some point in between lives, you decided that, you know what, I really want to go to the next level. Higher guide, what do you think I should do? And they said, well, you might want to consider either Sirius or Merope. And you didn't really want to leave the Pleiadian system, okay? I think you guys had it really good in the Pleiades, okay? I mean, it was, you couldn't beat the Pleiades as far as lifestyle, but Sirius, I think you thought was going to be too much of a culture change. They were much more traditional. I don't think you were up for that. So you decided, you know what, I definitely pick Merope, even though it's a very femininely. And a lot of my Meropians that was told about him molesting kids, and I don't believe that.
I think there's a lot of made up stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So when I look at Michael Jackson's records, I just see this very pure soul, that just wanted. I think he just loved so much that people didn't understand his level of love. You know what I'm saying? And they took it. They misconstrued it all incorrectly. But and I hope right now that he's happy back in the Pleiades. Okay, I hope he's back there. Yeah. So he's just an example of somebody that we know that's famous that's actually from Merope. So that kind of explains a little bit how that culture was. It was they did use music in Merope mostly for healing. Okay. So I don't know if you use sound or music in your shamanic practices.
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I use the drum.
The drum. Okay.
Drum and rattle work. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
And then I'm also into all the healing. So the healing sounds. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Bowls and all of that.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Now, the shamanic work that you've been doing, is it more Native American style or Central American? I'm just kind of curious.
Native American is where my lineage kicked off from.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little Tibetan influence, and then I have the Peruvian influence.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So, but I follow the Native American style of healing work.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's easy to work with.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. So that totally fits in with Maia and Merope. I mean, it's just, you're just like right up your alley, So,
yeah.
So I think Merope was, you and Julie, I think, have had a soul contract with each other for quite a long time. Yeah, quite a long time. I think Julie was actually your instructor in, because you went to Merope because they were the experts at psycho-spiritual healing. So that was like the next level, okay?
Right.
Yeah, so you and Julie, I think, met in Merope. She was your teacher, okay, in that lifetime. I don't know if it's reversed in this lifetime, but I think you two learn from each other. I think you always have. But she was actually your instructor, and you two developed a very close, it wasn't a love relationship. It was beyond that. It was just like a family relationship, okay? And I think in a lot of ways, you and Julie might be part of the same kind of core soul family from those two star systems. Okay, so you developed this really close relationship with each other, and you did a lot of work together. And I think you did a lot of work together throughout not only lifetimes off planet, but probably even lifetimes on planet. Yeah. So she ended up, I think, I don't know. I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't oftentimes remember everybody's readings, but
Yeah, no worries.
yeah. But I'm trying to see. Um, Merope was kind of an interesting place. A lot of Pleiadian planets kind of looked like Earth, except there might have been some differences, but they kind of look like Washington State, if you want to, compare it to something. Merope, on the other hand, was more kind of like, I don't know, like Scotland, like it was very misty and very, very mystical. I don't think the skies ever got really bright. I don't know if the planet was just located very far from the sun or their sun, or if it was just the atmospheric conditions, but it was very mystical and magical, and I don't know why, but I always see 3 moons. So moon energy is very important, was very important in Merope, at least in that planet that you all were on. And like I said, it was very matriarchal, very much focused on the feminine mysteries. Okay, so I think you as a soul, I mean, you're a masculine person, but you have a very feminine orientation. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's actually, I think, true of a lot of starseed men, my husband included. I think I'm more masculine than he is. I mean, and I'm not.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually more like the wife, and I'm like the husband. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but and it's because he's from, he's had incarnations in the Pleiades and Sirius, and I am from Arcturus, and Arcturus is very kind of more divine masculine oriented, but it's a more technical society. Okay. Pleiades was kind of an interesting blend. Okay. Now I do think you do have technical abilities. Okay. I don't think it's your first love, but I think because of your lifetimes in this, higher dimensional society, I think you feel comfortable around technology, but I don't think it's your first love. I think it's just like something that it's a means to an end kind of thing. Okay.
Yep.
So I don't know if you utilize computers a lot in the work that you do, or not really.
Well, in the 3D job that I do, yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So, the 3D job that I didn't say is I've been an optician for about 30 years.
Oh, interesting.
So I make glasses and, give people vision. But...
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then, but I'm always technology. Like, everybody calls on me to do all the tech work because I understand it and nobody else can understand technology.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that's what your guys were telling me. He's pretty good with technology. And I said, really? And I said, he's a Meropean and, a Mayan. And they go, oh, no, he's good in technology. I said, okay. So your guys were correct.
Yes.
Yeah, no, they were. So you're an optician. That's amazing. So you're not like the eye doctor. You're the one that makes the glasses.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so well, that's a very technical job. I mean, that's it involves yeah, you got to definitely know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. But that's actually kind of cool because it's kind of symbolic. In a way, when you do your optician job, you're giving people physical sight. When you do your shaman job, you're giving people spiritual sight.
You called it. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
It took me a few years to realize that, and then all of a sudden I went, "You're kidding me. That's the joke."
Yeah.
I'm giving people sight at work, and then I'm going, at night to give people sight as a shaman.
There you go. Yep. But and I
So
mean both are
a good joke, not a bad joke.
no, not a bad joke. No, I think it's a cool joke. I mean, I think it's kind of like, I mean, that's so I think as a soul, as far as your soul mission, maybe that's what you're here to do, is to give people insight. And I mean, because Pleiadians are great teachers. I always, and they got this, I think, originally from the Lyrans, but I think but they teach in a way that's very gentle and very very much by example. So I think in a way you're here to help activate people and to help, I think, spark an evolution, or I think, yeah, that's what it is. You do transformation work. Yeah, so that's basically your mission, is to help people with transformation. Because even when you give people, you make them a good pair of glasses or contact lenses, it changes their reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they can see things better, they can see things more clearly, and then you're also doing that with the shamanic work, on a much more deeper level. Where, yeah. So let me check on. I'm seeing mostly incarnations. It was always in Maia and Merope. I don't think you were that interested. I think you did have one incarnation in Electra. Okay. And I think that's where you learned the technology from. Electra was not as divine masculine oriented as Taygeta. Taygeta was all space exploration. Okay, I don't think you were that interested in becoming part of the Galactic Federation. I think you liked more the inventiveness of technology. So I think that's why you chose Electra. And Electra it's kind of a quirky star system. It's hard to describe. It's more like a bunch of little inventors that like to invent things. I don't know. They like to utilize tools, but they're also extremely creative. Okay, so I think more so than the Taygetans, they love to utilize creativity in their technology. And yeah, so anyway, let me see if there's anything else. As far as planet Earth, since let's see how we're kind of moving fast. Yeah, we're kind of definitely moving fast here. Planet Earth, trying to see what brought you to planet Earth. Yeah, they're saying something about, I think it was because, yeah, and this is going to sound kind of strange, but...
don't worry. I've heard that before. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, but I think in your Electra life, you had opportunities to travel to Earth. Okay, so I think you were one of the people that you weren't necessarily colonizing Earth, but you were going, I think, for certain exploratory trips, just to kind of, I think, observe what's happening and then report back. So I think you did that sometimes, and I'm seeing because you did that, it was kind of like you became somewhat concerned about the planet, and you felt like, wow, the Earth people are really, really behind, and I think your friend Julie was going to be taking, had volunteered for the Earth Ascension Project. And, there was your partner and there was other people that you knew that was also volunteering for the project. And so I think it was kind of like a group collective decision that, okay, we're part of the same soul family. We're going to all tag team on this and do this. Okay. I think you as a person, you're a very collaborative type of individual. I think you love to work with other people. You love exchanging ideas. You're just. I think you have excellent mediation skills. I think you're just that kind of easygoing kind of individual. Let me see what. Oh yeah, that definitely fits. You're light Libra, right? Or
yes.
Yeah, Libra. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I think you like the collaboration, and so I think because these other individuals that you loved and admired were going to become part of this big project, you decided that, okay, I'm going to go along with it myself. And I don't think there was any hesitation about it with you. Like I get some souls that are very reluctant. They hate this planet. They don't even know why they're here. I think you saw it as just another experience. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but heck, I can handle it. And I don't know. I just kind of see it kind of an adventurous or maybe a curiosity about you. Like you know what? Yeah, the Earth people are really primitive. they're primitive, and but let's go ahead and do this, and let's see if we can make some positive changes. And so I think you're just a very optimistic kind of personality. Okay, in that sense. And I think you're very adaptable. I think you're able to, no matter what situation you're in, you're able to make it work for you. Okay. Another thing about the Pleiadian culture that a lot of people don't understand is that they had kind of a polymorphous kind of. They were more. Not that they were sexually promiscuous, but in that culture, it was okay to have partners of different sexes, and it didn't really matter. Yeah, it was, because they were fifth dimensional and beyond, there wasn't the jealousy factor like we have here on Earth. So I think Pleiadians are used to being freer with their sexuality. And so when they come here to Earth, they feel very, I think, restricted because of all the, the expectations of, oh, you got to be a certain way, you got to do things this way, you got to be this way. And they don't understand that, So a lot of Pleiadians, I think, struggle, because they, when they come here to Earth, because they don't understand all the societal restrictions on sexuality. Okay. I think that's changing. I think, it's slowly changing, slowly, but it is, I think it is changing, and I think we're going to see more changes as, people get more evolved. Okay. Yes. So, now I think what I will do, and I think I may have done this for Julie too, is I did a really nice podcast on Pleiadian starseed traits. And I think you might like that. It's 2 hours of everything you ever wanted to know about yourself. Okay. I used to have a radio show, and I did different features on different star races. And
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and this one was on Pleiadians are so prominent that I did a whole show on them, So this kind of just explains the Pleiadian personality, how they are. how they like to do their work, that sort of thing. How they are in relationships. That's the downside of Pleiadian star seeds as far as relationships is that they do have a tendency, I mean, at least if they're not well integrated, to get into codependent type of or relationships with narcissistic type of people because they're such empaths. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm familiar in my family. Let's put it that way.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So,
I was born to a narcissist, so.
Gotcha. Oh, got it. Okay. So, yep. I was married to one for a while. I'm not sure if you could see me. This says poor connection on my end, but.
I can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't see you, but that's okay as long as we can hear each other. So. Yeah, I dealt with a narcissist too. That was an interesting marriage. Yeah, it didn't last. It didn't even last 5 years. It was so bad. So, but at least I got out when I could. So, but I see that a lot with Pleiadians. That until I think they learn to, accept themselves and I think empower themselves as far as their empathic gifts. They do tend to play this out, but it sounds like to me that you've resolved that quite a long time, maybe because of your family member.
Well, family, and I did play one relationship, so my ex of many years, 10 years, was also a narcissist.
Oh, wow, okay. So after that one, you were just like...
That one I was like, and that's not happening again.
Yeah, no, so you sound like me. After my first marriage, I was like, I am not repeating this again. There is no freaking way. I don't care how many years it's going to take of inner work, to figure this out. We're not doing that again. And, my now husband is wonderful. I mean, he's a starseed. He's awakened. We've been together 17 years. So I'm very, very happy. And it sounds like you have a wonderful partner too. So
yes, I do.
Yeah.
13 years. So
13
yes.
years. Wonderful. So you and I both had happy endings. So
exactly.
Yeah. So
once we learned what we don't want.
Yeah, exactly. With you, actually, I am seeing, even though you're on the East Coast, your first incarnation on Earth was actually in Lemuria. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do see more of a Lemurian energy with you than I do Atlantis. I think you probably could have fit into Atlantis, but I don't think you were that interested. Like I said, I think for you, the high technology wasn't really a draw. It was more the deep spirituality, okay? And so I think when you had that choice, like, or you want Atlantis or Lemuria, you're like, Lemuria, And I'm a Lemurian soul myself, so I'm right there with you. I definitely relate more to Lemuria. So I think in Lemuria, that was when I think you started doing more shamanic type of work, okay? And I think in most of your lives, you were either, what few you had on Earth. You didn't have hundreds of lives on Earth. I don't see that with you at all. In the lives that you did have on Earth, you were either a teacher or you were a healer of some sort. Okay, so I think you stuck with your skill sets. So in Lemuria, I see that you were a shaman, and I just see you out on a beach, and I think you're communicating telepathically with sea creatures. And so I don't know if I think you were on a beach and you were telepathically calling out to them or something. And so that must be a gift that you have. You must be very good with telepathy. Maybe it's a latent gift that you haven't developed in yourself yet, but it's in there. And I think you're actually quite good with communicating with animals. And does that sound right, or?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have my feathered friends out back.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. In this lifetime, you were communicating more with the aquatic beings. And I think they would give you like just updates on what was going on in their ocean realm, and you would share information with each other. And then I've seen you doing some sort of ritualistic kind of work. Again with the sound healing, but you were utilizing shells, like the conch shells. So you were doing some of that work, and you worked a lot with crystals, okay, in that lifetime. I don't know if you do still work with crystals today, but
a lot, yes.
A lot, okay.
And the conch shell is sitting behind me on the shelf.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I didn't see it, so I must.
No, I know you can't because it's down.
For power, as far as power of thought and power of intention, So, and they were very deep into the dream time. I actually think the Aborigines in Australia, their concept of dream time actually, I think, originated from Lemuria. Okay, and I think that's why a lot of us Lemurian souls like to do a lot of our work in the dream state rather than in waking life, because for us that's more true reality than 3D waking life. Okay, so from Lemuria, I'm trying to see. I think you did have a lifetime in Egypt. Okay. Which a lot of us starseeds, regardless of whether we were Lemurian or Atlantean, had, I think, lifetimes in Egypt. I would say about 80 to 90% of my starseeds have had incarnations in Egypt. It was like Starseed Central there for a while. With you, I'm seeing earlier part of Egyptian history, not latter part. Okay. Latter part was starting to get influenced by Greece and Rome, and I don't think you were into that. So, in a lot of ways, your belief systems are more, I would say, Eastern and indigenous influence than Western influenced. Okay. Even though you are Pleiadian, but if you do use some Western influence, it's usually very maybe druidic or very nature oriented. Like nature religions, but I would say mostly. Most of your lives were very much, I think, more, and I don't know, I mean, I wish I knew the Egyptian pantheon a little bit better. I know some of the major gods, that's about it, but yeah, you had, I think you were a priest of some sort, okay, because like I said, you've always done either something very shamanic or something that was more of a teacher position. So I think you were a priest of some sort, but I'm having a hard time seeing which cult or which god you were a priest of. And it might have been, okay, they're saying it was Anubis. That's interesting. Okay. I wouldn't have picked that for you, but that's what your guides are telling me. So that was they say jackal-headed, so I'm thinking, okay, Anubis. That was more about the mysteries of death. That's interesting. Okay. I don't think you were so much involved with the actual embalming aspect of it, but more with the rituals. Okay. Yeah, that was an interesting life. Yeah, that is definitely not off, kind of off kilter for you though. Because I'm seeing you more like you're all about the light. I mean, you're the only thing I can think of with that Anubis life was maybe that was your opportunity to delve into some of your to face your shadow self,
Mm-hmm.
since you weren't able to do that in the Pleiades, and
Right.
so I think maybe that's why you chose that particular cult. Um, I think in each of your lives on Earth, you picked very specific lives to accomplish kind of specific missions. Okay, so and sometimes they were personal missions. So they weren't always totally all altruistic. I mean, sometimes there was a very personal mission that was attached to that. So I think so I think in Lemuria you were just kind of getting used to being, an Earth human, albeit a fifth dimensional one. And then in Egypt, you were getting used to being an Earth human that was, connected to the dark. And then from there, let me see what else incarnations you had. Yeah, I'm seeing, mostly indigenous, really. I'm seeing one that's in kind of, I don't know. It was either like Siberia or some part of Russia, but very, very close to kind of like the Tibetan Bhutan area. So in that lifetime, you were actually more Asian looking. Okay. So again, doing very shamanic kind of work. It was very tough life, I think, environmentally. It was just very cold, very harsh environment. I think so, I see you sometimes traveling to village to village. I think helping people with healing. Um, and I think you were very well renowned for your gifts, but very tough life. I don't think it was a very long life for you, just because the environment was so tough. But from there, I do see mostly, I do see a couple of European lives. Okay, not. I think you avoided the Middle Ages. You wanted nothing to do with that. You're just like, ain't going there. No. I think the life I do see for you was, I do see Great Britain. Great Britain was another one where I see a lot of people have had lives there. I think it was because of the attempt to recreate Avalon through the Arthurian times.
Yeah.
And I think in that life, I'm trying to see what it was that you did. Yeah, you were there during those times, which I think wasn't that kind of Middle Ages too, but it didn't seem to have the components of the Middle Ages. Maybe it was afterwards, but it was kind of a magical time, and it was a time when there was a lot of, I think, like a promise of a new age, and so I'm trying to see what it was that you did. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. You were a young boy, and okay, they're saying that you were the apprentice to somebody who I think studied or used to study with Merlin. Okay, so then eventually you became, I guess, like a wizard, or I don't know what they call them. Oh, I guess wizards maybe. But sorcerer, yeah, magician. Because I keep seeing magician. I keep seeing the magician. And but I'm seeing you as a very young boy. You were studying, And you were, I think, taken from your family very early on because they saw certain gifts. You had a lot of gifts with foresight and with dream interpretation, and I guess the telepathy with the animals. So it was just like, oh yes, we're going to train him early, So so that was kind of a cool life for you. Excuse me. Again, I don't think you lived to old age. I think either you got sick or something happened where you died fairly young. I think maybe in your 30s. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Let me check the records a little deeper. Oh, wow. Okay. That's kind of crazy. You had a rival in that life. Okay. There was somebody that was jealous of you. And I think it was somebody that was masculine. Okay. So it was another sorcerer. And I know this sounds very J.R.R. Tolkien, but I guess this person was jealous of you, and I think you were appointed to work with with royalty, I guess at that time, maybe even with King Arthur, okay. And so you were appointed to be part of the the sorcerer for that court, and I think you had won this position out of, I think, a selection of several, okay, and this person, I think, poisoned you, okay, that's what I'm seeing. So you died an early death in that life. So there was some karmic stuff you had to work about with that, okay, around that. Maybe some forgiveness work. I don't know, but and it's interesting because I think you and this individual used to be really close friends, and then you became rivals. As you guys. But he was also another male. It wasn't a female. From there, I'm seeing lives in Central America. In North America as indigenous, okay. I think that your European lives were very hard. You kind of lost. You had no interest in, I think, staying in Europe after that. So I think it was a contract with your guides that, hey, I want to be on the other side of the planet, So I do see lives in Central America. Now you did have another European life after that one. And that one actually was around, I think, the Renaissance period, and I think it might have been. It wasn't England. I think it was maybe Northern Europe, but I think you were a professor. And I think you were a professor of, interestingly enough, let me see what you were trained. They're saying, oh, interesting. I think it was philosophy and law. Okay, kind of like what you were learning in Maia. Okay, so, or what you taught in Maia. You were a professor. And that life wasn't as bad, but I think there was a big, heavy influence from the Catholic Church. And your, I think, viewpoints really clashed with the Catholic Church, so you were always at odds with them. So, and I think that's probably a theme even in this life, where I think you have belief systems that clash against the establishment of the time. And it really, I think, can sometimes be very, very difficult for you. In that life, you almost lost your life. I mean, it was that bad. I think it was around the time it was after the Inquisition, but it was still, I think, that threat of, hey, I could, really get myself in trouble, with clashing with the church. But I actually think the work that you did in that life, again, was illumination. Okay, and that's what your guides are showing me. You were there, I think, to start people thinking in a different way. Okay, and I think that's why you chose to be a professor in that life. Is that you were helping to transform them, but through thought. In that time it was through thought. In this lifetime, it's through spiritual transformation. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing there. Yeah, your indigenous lives. I think I'm seeing Central America, not Peru, but in that life, I think you went back to the shamanism. Okay. I think that's why you're attracted to that so much, is because you've done it in several lives, so it's very seamless for you. In your you had a life in Native America, in North America. That life, I think it's either Cherokee. I think you might. You said you have Native American genetics in this life, or
they don't say that I do.
Oh, gotcha.
But I believed I was part of Iroquois.
Oh, interesting. Okay, interesting. All right. Might have been Iroquois. Okay. I'm not very good with my Native American tribes, so I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not either.
Yeah, I mean, I know the main. It's like I know the main ones, and I probably should know more. It's like the angels too. I never can get them all straight. I just know. Okay, yeah, there's Archangel Michael and Gabriel and Zadkiel, and but I don't know all. I don't know 50 of them. That they have. But
don't forget Raphael.
Yeah, Raphael is important. Yep, very important.
He's our Palladian friend that does all the healing.
That's right. Yep. I was actually told once I'm most connected with him rather than Archangel Michael, which would make sense. Yeah, that would make considering the kind of work I do, I guess. But yeah. I just I see. Definitely Native American. And it's definitely, I think, one of the tribes that. So why Iroquois? I'm just curious.
Iroquois was again matriarchal,
Mm-hmm.
and it was also very
influenced by the Pleiades.
Yeah, by the Pleiades, and it's all up into the lakes up that way. And someone had told me that my family story is that we were Mohawks.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's the family story, but then genetics doing the DNA test, it didn't show anything.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, it doesn't mean you didn't have past lives as...
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I had a past life as Native American, and I have absolutely no Native American genetics in this life, so it doesn't really mean anything. And then I have some people that are Native American that, or have Native American blood, but didn't have Native American past lives, so you never know. Yeah, so it kind of works all kinds of different ways, but yeah. So is your family actually from the area that you're in then?
Yeah. Most of my family landed here. Yeah, from Europe.
Oh wow. Okay, so you
So
have a long history in your area then. Wow. So you're
yeah,
kind of like my husband. I always joke that his family came to the United States on the Mayflower, because his family's been in, upstate New York for generations. I mean, generations upon generations. So yeah, that's amazing. So, so yeah, I guess that's why I think that was the last life you had before this one. Okay. So I don't really see I don't see like hundreds of lives for you, okay, on Earth. I don't think you wanted to get that enmeshed into um, the what they call it, the reincarnation cycle, the ever-ending reincarnation cycle.
hmm
I don't think that was an interest of yours. Now, I do have some Syrian souls that have had hundreds of lives on this planet because that's what they chose, okay? With Pleiadians, usually you guys, you might have 10 or 15 at the most, but not hundreds, okay? So, and it's not because you don't love the planet. I think it's just because you wanted to come in with very specific reasons for having specific lives. Okay. Now it doesn't mean that because we cherry picked our lives that we had easy lives. Okay, it wasn't. It wasn't easy. It was. I think some of us had some very hard lives. So. It sounded like you had some very hard lives in some of your incarnations. So, do you have any questions for me, or is all of this kind of making sense? Or
it sure does. It's
okay,
all making sense. So you're not. Yeah.
okay. Was there anything that you wanted me to check on that you had a question about, or
Well, I guess the biggest thing was you've kind of answered already is what other things do us Palladians like to work with? I know we said sound and crystals and
mm-hmm,
and nature. Those are my three big
mm-hmm,
things that I work with, and then um,
technology? You got,
technology
yeah,
is also a big
yeah,
yeah for healing, and
for
then
healing.
and you totally pointed out one of the questions I already had, which I mean the consideration is a school, what I'm referring to as the School of Ascension. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm clear that that's in my path.
Yeah, I do see you as, I don't know why I see you as a teacher, but I mean, maybe it was from the Maya, origins, but yeah, I do see you teaching in the future. I think that's what you came here to do. Is you're an illuminator. That's who you are. And you're also a transformational activator. Okay, so you help activate people into their transformational process, and I think you do that through knowledge, mostly through knowledge and healing.
Yep,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. So as far as guides, we didn't talk about that yet, but I'm just looking at the time, trying to wrap things up here. But as far as guides, I do see mostly Maya Pleiadian and Meropian Pleiadian guides. I do see angelics. You mentioned one of them, Raphael. Okay,
Yes.
definitely your archangel. I also see. I don't see you as aligned with ascended masters because you don't really have a Syrian influence, but I do see that you have worked before with Commander Ashtar and also with Hilarion. Okay, he's also known as a healer. Okay, I think you also have connections with Kathumi because of your connection with animals. I think you you have a deep understanding of animal totems and animal I think psychology. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you utilize it a lot in your healing work. Um, uh, Trying to see if there's anybody that really stands out.
And don't worry, you already said the other one that I'm familiar with.
Which one?
Merlin.
Merlin. Oh yeah, Merlin. Yeah.
He's always hanging around.
Yeah, Merlin. Yeah. He's actually one for my husband too. He's from that lineage as well. So he's. I think Merlin, when he was on the planet, he had a lot of lovers and had a lot of progeny. So there's a lot of, I think, people that can trace their lineage to Merlin.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was a busy guy in a lot of ways, I guess. So, but
you're into spirit, into guides. The one that fascinates me that I still don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Not Egyptian. Indian looking, like from the Middle East. Wears almost like a crown jewel and a turban.
Mm-hmm.
Rather attractive, but I have no idea who he is.
Is it El Moira?
Could be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll check into that. Yeah, he's one that comes up quite a bit too with my healers. And I think he's more transformational though. He's more of a transformational. But yeah, I'll send you some information on him, and you can check it and see if it's if it aligns with you. Yeah. I think we are at the end of our time.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little closing prayer and shut down the records. It was such a delight getting to know you. You're such a wonderful soul. I almost feel like you, me, and Julie must have known each other from some maybe from Lemuria. I don't know, but
or Palladia.
Yeah, I was in the Pleiades.
Maia, yeah.
Yeah, I was in the Pleiades too. I spent some time there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I would like.
Maybe we were all learning together at one
I
time.
think we were. Yeah. That seems to be a theme that comes up with me and a lot of people that I have, my clients and everything else. So, so that's wonderful. I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the lords of the Akashic records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed, amen. The records are now closed, amen. The records are now closed, amen. Your energy goes with you, and my energy stays with me.